tanks that do, and the sewage ponds that the observatory are going to do. This is something very similar to what we are wanting to build. The only difference, and this one exists in the county. This one's at Snowshoe in the parking lot right down from Rimfire. It's right in the rim, right below the hill in Rimfire. The only difference is going to be with this one, the one over here, ours is going to have a cover. It'll be covered. Because we get 50 inches of rain a year, and we don't want to have to pay to dispose of 50 inches of rainwater. So it will be covered. We'll be monitored for air control. This tank is, most generally, chain link fence is about 10 foot. So you know, you've got about 45 foot this way. You've got about 30 foot. That's about 45 by 30 foot wide. 45 foot long by 30 foot wide. And so it's very similar, the same size. Ours will be like 30 by 30 by 8 and with a cup. Something very similar to the, about the same size, probably a little bit bigger than the pond that you have up the side of your house in there. So somewhere in that vicinity is what it's going to be. If you're out at the road, looking in, this is what we want to make the property look like. We don't want to have to be able to see anything in the road either. And of course, there's our racing outhouse. Outhouses, times have changed. Used to be there was every morning there was a race to the outhouse. Now times have changed, and we have racing outhouses. So I think that's the last slide we have. Now, question.
I got another question.
Okay, Mackie.
You showed this and explained the observatory, but what I'm interested in, now where do you go to get all this sewer to fill all these tanks you're planning on putting up in there?
Now we're planning on putting 150,000 gallon tank in. You pump
Where's that going to come from, man?
From septic systems. You know,
and what locations are you?
From
what's your area you travel?
We cover Green Bay, Pocahontas County. We can pump in Pocahontas County, Highland County, Virginia, Bath County, Virginia. It's a good question. I mean, I know what you're getting at. Let me explain the snowshoe question. The report in the Pocahontas Times. The Pocahontas Times reporter done a very good job of reporting that story. One main fact that he left out of that story was what is the legal thing you could do if Snowshoe Public Service District's sewer truck broke down at Snowshoe and they wasn't able to pump for a week to keep the Hawthorne restaurant open, the boathouse open, and the sugar shack open. Those three facilities go out into a sewage holding tank. Snowshoe Public Service District picks that sewer up and takes it to the plant up at Silver Creek. They were wanting a way to keep those three businesses open in case their truck would happen to break down. Legally, let me back up before I get to the legal part. Public Service District at Snowshoe owns the one tank down Hawthorne Valley. They do not own the two tanks at the boathouse and the sugar shack that those go out into. Legally, we could pick up sewage from the Hawthorne tank and take it to the sewage processing plant at Silver Creek. The one at the boathouse and the one at the sugar shack, we cannot legally pick that up and take it to Snowshoe's or Silver Creek sewer plant. That would have to be, if we picked it up to get those two businesses to keep them in operation, we would have to have taken that sewer to a approved sewage disposal site, either in Raynell, Elkins is taking it, Clarksburg takes it, or Verona, Virginia. There's 4 places that we can actually take sewer to a sewage treatment facility. We do also have a land application permit up at we can get to that in a little bit if you want to. But legally, and if their truck had been broke down, and those businesses hadn't been pumped out for a week, there would have been a time frame there that we would have needed to try to help them to get them back in business. We could have brought it in, put it in our holding tank until we got to the weather. You know, snowshoe, most of the time, because of the winter like we've had this winter, you're not going to be wanting to go across Sheep Mountain with a load of sewer. It'd be easier to bring it back here, bring it back and hold it for a day or two until we can take it to a proper disposal facility. That's what went on. Now, it wasn't what was reported. We're not bringing snowshoe sewage down here.
Okay,
hopefully,
you're talking about the sewage, Mike.
Okay.
You didn't show any pictures of the junkyard piled up there.
Okay, let's deal with the sewage first, then we'll go.
All right, you got junk and you got sewer.
Okay.
Now, to me, this is.
Okay, let's deal with the sewer first, then we'll deal with the junkyard. I think would be the best way to do it. Or if you want to jump?
Well, I'm not finished yet. I got a few more words and I'm done.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to tell the people of Green Bank, once they get started here, don't quit. You're going to see this thing expand and expand. For people all over the country ain't got no place to take their junk and sewer. Are we going to let them bring it here in Green Bank? Why in the world would anybody in their right mind get started in Green Bank with a sewer plant, junk, right here in the middle of town?
Marty, we're not the first people.
I can't understand it.
Let me ask you a question. We're not the first people to have a junkyard in Green Bank. You remember right behind the boxes in the 60s and 70s? Remember Neil Snyder had his cars stored out behind where the green box?
I don't think it'll ever get as big as what you're going to see in the
Snyder
future.
was doing recycling of cars long before it ever had a name of recycling. Where Miss Stewart lives up here, that house, I can remember when that was a sawmill. Anybody else remember when that was a sawmill? So we're not first people starting business in Green Bank. Part of my highway has been there since.
First business though to actually put it on public land, and one public land.
Yeah, but that public land was deeded to the county.
Right.
For industrial or economic development.
Right, for Pocahontas County.
For Pocahontas County.
Not getting a penny from it. I found
There you
out.
are.
No, they're
There you
not.
are.
No,
40-some jobs.
yeah. Not getting a
40
penny.
some people. I mean, I can't argue that.
Well, you're getting a job,
Yeah.
but they're not getting a penny from taxes. They're not getting a penny. Pocahontas County.
This new property is completely different. This new expansion is completely different.
How soon do you plan on doing that?
How many industrial parks, you know, you've been in business, I don't know where this state or not, how many industrial parks in this state, now I know the state of Ohio, my sister up Tupper Plain got this same argument. How many industrial parks are not authorized, governed by the state, county, and they receive no money because this is what he said. They bring money in to bring jobs. They create an industrial park. And when this property was designated, that was the Greenbrier Valley Authority.
Well,
I don't know much about it, but let me tell you what.
County Commission.
Anytime you do that, that's industrial, look at that one out at Ed Ray. It's sawmills.
Still sitting there.
Huh?
It's still sitting there.
But it'd be wonderful. I like to drive out through there and see pump, because we need the job. How many kids graduate from Pocahontas County High School that don't have a job in this county? My neighbor's Travis Turner. Travis is tickled to death to have this job, folks, because he'd have had to leave home or work a snowshoe.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
but
all he's
what
done.
kind of jobs are you going to have if the smell becomes so
Well,
bad that people aren't going to be here?
I
You have people that
I
travel
walk in
through
Arbor
here.
And I'm gonna tell you, Steve said he smells the sewer plant. I go to church, the Methodist church.
I
I know, but ask the people, Prince, ask the people who work at the observatory.
smell.
You can smell it occasionally, not all the time. When I get on that
Right now, it's real smelly.
Huh?
We walked up there yesterday.
I'll tell you what, the weather has a lot to do with it.
Oh, sure.
What about Green Bank? When the wind blows,
Are we going to just shut down because it
Well, there's
doesn't
other
smell
places.
good?
Because we're getting off track here.
Other
We're not
places.
here to argue amongst
I would just
ourselves.
like to ask a question.
Okay.
According to this thing right here, apparently it must have been a survey. And it would have had to have been done well before this
Greenbrier Valley.
February 27th letter where the Greenbrier Valley Economic
ma'am.
Group said about the 9 acres.
Yes, ma'am.
So all of this was done well before the meeting last week, which of course we didn't find out about it till the day
Day
before. Well, so here you have this survey that's already done up, and you have on here that there's a 100,000 gallon above the ground tank. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
last year, Mike, you told us that that was
Yes,
not
ma'am.
going to be covered. That's what you told us last
Yes,
year.
ma'am.
So we're talking 100,000 gallon above the ground tank, and
Wow.
then there's a thing for 50,000 gallons each. You're talking 400,000 gallons of sewage.
We are not putting up the 100,000.
Well, wait a minute, what's
That's
the
what it says
regular
here,
test?
Mike.
Why did you pay that?
That's what it says here.
We have to be, I'll explain this to you.
I've got a copy.
Those
The
are
original
there.
survey was done last year, but not last year, year before last, the December county commission meeting of 2010. County commission voted to have this additional property surveyed in our behalf when we were going to originally purchase it. That's when the survey was done.
But
And
then
that's
even
where that
then,
survey
you were,
came
but
from.
even then, you were considering this, and you never presented that last year at our meeting.
No, we
either.
didn't. Last year, we was planning on putting up 100,000 beyond that.
And so-
Whenever we had the meeting at the observatory, we was planning on putting up 100,000 gallons.
But this also includes 50,000, including the 100,000. You're talking 400,000.
6 places that could be built.
Could be,
proper-
could be.
for proper setbacks. But we have to have the setbacks, and we have to have deed-free property before we can go to DEP. That's 6 places that the engineer said we could put a pit. But like the pit that we was showing here on the screen.
Doesn't say
It's not
that.
saying that we're gonna build a,
But-
hopefully. Let me tell you what the best case scenario is in the future. They're getting ready to build 2 sewage treatment plants at Snowshoe.
No, they're not.
They.
I just
they-
talked to
They
him
have
and
no
Tracy.
money. They
I
have no
talked to
money
him and
to build
Tracy
it.
2 minutes ago.
Look, can I finish, please?
Yes.
The plans are, and something that we really need to get behind,
Plan's been 15
is they're
years
going to
ago.
build 2 sewage treatment plants at Snowshoe. In the wintertime, and I operated a packaged sewer plant similar to the ones that they're trying to build at Snowshoe.
Trying.
Or Snowshoe. Trying to build. Hopefully, we'll get something accomplished over there. But in the summertime, whenever I had that sewage treatment plant